Gonna build a mountain from a little hill.
Hey guys, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is DeLadysigner, and today we are back with another speed build video of Abuya Zoo. And in this episode, we are going to add the free anniversary update animal we got back in November of last year, the Black-and-White Ruffed Lemur. Now this cute animal actually fits super well in Abuya Zoo because it just looks absolutely beautiful with its colors. Like, it fits in so well with this tropical African zoo we are building. And for those who are wondering, this habitat is located right next to the rhino habitat we built earlier during this series. So I tried to find some inspiration on Google for this habitat, and I actually wasn't really sure what to go for. More of like an indoor area, something with a big cage maybe. Do I want to create like an island or something different and more closed off? And the more pictures I saw, the more I felt like, let's just go for a lemur island, because I absolutely enjoyed creating a lemur island in City Zoo, which has been probably over a year ago already or something, but it's definitely still one of my most favorite habitats I have built for a City Zoo so far. So yeah, a lemur island it is, but obviously it's going to be a lot different than the one that we built for a City Zoo back in the days. So first, I made sure to create the island with the terrain tool. I really wanted to make sure it would all not be too big, including the distance in between the island and the guest. So that's why you see me using walls to make sure that the water is not wider than 4 meters, because in the end you also don't want to make sure that it's too small, because then the lemurs would potentially be able to jump over the water to the path. So you also want to avoid that. So not too wide, not too small, just a good size in between, I guess. So the only picture I used for a bit of inspiration for this habitat in the end was a picture of the lemur habitat in the Smithsonian's National Zoo in Washington, D.C., if I say that correctly, and if the information on the picture is correct. I think it is, but correct me if I'm wrong. Now they basically have like this rocky mountain on an island with these orange colored rocks. Now one thing that I'm missing in this game is definitely more of like square blocks as rocks. I think they would work a lot better when creating these kind of rock formations, although still the traversable area of the animals stays an issue in this game. To make things work, you always have to create some things a little bit different than how you want it to be, and like creating something one-on-one like a recreation of a zoo would end up with probably the animals not be able to use most of the things. So yeah, I still want them to use most of the things, so I'm making concessions here just to make sure that the animals are still able to use most of this island. But alright, we do what we can, and I must say I'm very happy with the end result of this habitat. So on the right side of the island, we first start building this cave area to make sure the lemurs can get some shade and some privacy. And after that, I make sure that there is enough room around the cave for the lemurs to walk around from one side to the other side of the island. And for a moment, I actually thought to maybe add a tree trunk and the branches again, but I didn't really find this too fit in on the island in the end, so I scrapped that idea and just went for rocks and a combination of some trees and lush foliage and stuff. So on the left side of the island, I had to make sure there was like this platform for the lemurs to get some food. Like, since the island is so small, there's not really a way of squeezing that in a later stage. I really had to like place this down already and plan it out a little bit and plan the area around it. So this feeding area is basically in eyesight of our guests, so they can enjoy them while they are eating. And yeah, it might seem a little bit big on the left side, but I think it's all right. I think it's all right to have like this focusing point where the animals get fed and where the guests can really see them up close. I think the rest of the island, like on top of it, on the rocks, or like in between the green and stuff, like I think this is definitely a good spot for the guests to really see them up close, or at the indoor section we're later going to build. So in order to make sure that the lemurs would also be able to walk on top of the cave on the rocks, I had to make sure they are able to reach it with some climbing frames. Like on the outside, these will be the only climbing frames you will see or find. We will later also add like this tree on the island, of which you are obviously able to climb in, and then later on the indoor area, they will have a little bit more climbing frames. Like I'm saying indoor area, but until the whole island was finished, I still had no idea yet what to do with like the connection of the Keeper's Gate and the bridge leading from basically land to the island. Like I still was completely blank. I was just building like, okay, I just want to have this island finished and everything around it, and then later concern is like how to connect the Keeper's Gate and make sure that the animals would not be able to escape and stuff. I had not really a plan of making an indoor area, so yeah, that was basically still a surprise when you see me build at this point. So once I was happy with the rocks and the shape of the island, I started adding like the small aquatic rocks before I started to add like the rest of the trees and bushes to make everything look nice and tropical. And for the biggest part of decorating this island, I used like the elephant grass, the apple trees, and those new ponytail trees. They look so amazing in so many areas in so many ways. I absolutely love these ponytail trees. I'm not really sure if that is the exact name for it. I think I will just, if I try to find them, I just type in pony and I find them already. But I think they're called something like ponytail trees, and they look just really, really amazing. And later I also used them in some planters, which look really cool in my opinion. So on the edge of the path, I used like the normal chain link fences at like 1 meter height or something like that, and tried to make the edge of the water also look nice and tropical. And also here I did use these ponytail trees as well, and some nice pink African flowers for some nice contrast. I really do love how this edge is looking now. Like I may actually try and use something similar like this at the edge of the rhino habitat, of which I'm still not super happy with. Like if you saw that episode back then, I spoke about it, like I wasn't really that satisfied with the edge of the habitat. So I think this edge, or the idea that I'm using here, might look a lot better at the edge of the rhino habitat. So we might get back to that area someday and change that a little bit, because maybe it looks a little bit too neat or something like that. That could be. So once everything on the island and around the island was finished, it was time to make a nice area and connection for the Keeper's Gate. So in the end, I went for this small indoor building with like a bamboo awning for the guests to get a little bit of shade, and also to make sure that like the sun is not shining inside too much. Like that would probably make it a lot hotter. So having a nice shady area as well, just like the cave that we have for the animals, definitely works well. So the backside of this building is made with plaster like we did with a lot of the other buildings in Abuya Zoo, but this time I covered the front with like these bamboo walls, which really make a difference and make it all look a little bit more tropical in my opinion. I definitely do love the vibe of them and the contrast we have going on here with the bamboo. So I did use some rocks on the sides of this little climbing frame bridge that we have to make sure that the lemurs would not be able to escape, like in the game that is, because I'm really sure that these animals would very easily be able to escape if this was real life. Also with the bamboo, like I used as some walls, they are climbable in the game, so I had to use like a lot of the elephant grass underneath the ground to make sure that the lemurs would not be able to climb out of the habitat or anything like that. So the indoor climbing frames are kept pretty simple, to be honest, because of the size of this building, and I had to make sure like the keeper is still able to walk behind the climbing frames to the outdoor area. And if you make it all too crammed, I think it's just not going to look very well with the climbing and stuff. I did use a few of the ropes also to make it look a little bit more realistic on the inside. And at the background of the indoor area, I used like these tropical wall painting things. I honestly have no idea what their real name is. Like we got them with the aquatic pack together with like these ice rock paintings or something like that, like we used for the king penguin habitat Pontasu. I think it's the first time that I'm using these tropical ones now, and I must say I actually really do like how this looks in the building. I'm very happy and satisfied with how this is looking. So the flooring of the building is simply just covered with some gray plaster pieces, and later I also add some hay there to make sure it all looks a little bit more realistic realistic. Like I always feel like these indoor areas are covered with mostly some hay, so it just makes sense to use that to cover the flooring a little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm really happy with how this lemur island has turned out in the end. Like it's pretty small and compact, yet still lush, and the lemurs are able to use everything, which is a big plus in my opinion. And I'm just also really happy with like this little indoor building. I think it just matches perfectly with the area, and it all looks really nice in my opinion. But I obviously do hope that you guys are inspired and that you also like this idea of this tropical lemur island that we build. Do let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this new Abuya Zoo habitat for the black and white ruffed lemur. Leave a like at the video if you guys enjoyed, and subscribe of course if you haven't already. And yeah, I just really do hope to see you guys all in the next one. Bye guys!